Pop, 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 pop.
Okay, you just like look here, press send everywhere. It's gonna record. Okay. I'm just gonna say a few words, then introduce you in English.
How do we do this?
Put it somewhere. It's gonna be okay.
TNT sure. Like this? Is this okay?
Yeah.
Or is this gonna
That's
this
good
gonna
enough.
bump?
It's gonna be good enough.
Good.
Okay. Danes bomo imeli gosta in potem bom sedaj pomagal pri projektu, bom pomagal pri projekta. So switch to English to introduce Anton to the fixing his microphone. Anton is a game developer from Austria. That has been in the Austrian indie game development scene for 7+ years for sure. And he recently released a game called Protocols. I asked him, just like Natalie and Josh last year, to give a bit of like an insight into his process of making games. And I think he comes from a very different process than what we've heard before. So hopefully it's going to be interesting.
I hope so too.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you the stage now. So
I just yes here. Okay, then I will be stuck to the laptop, but it's fine. Right?
This way I have a microphone. You can walk around and then go back to the laptop.
Okay. Yeah, well, because I will change slides a lot, so that's probably best if I just stay here on this side. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Anton, and I want to talk today about how I make games, and sometimes even finish them, although that's rather the exception. So who am I? I'm Anton. I'm an Austrian game developer, as Prince said. I studied computer science at ALUOigrice. I'm a hobbyist who turned a full-time indie developer, and I've recently released Rotoforce, as Prince said, in 2023, which was around 7-year project, and most recently I released Block Fusion, which was done 1 year afterwards, and I released a bunch of jam games in between. So Rotoforce is like a twin-stick shooter, boss rush game, a lot of action, and fighting lots of bosses, and everything rotates, as you can see in the GIF there. And it was made mostly in my free time during university, where I was working on it. And then my most recent game is Block Fusion. Is more an arcade puzzle game like the merge games like Freeze or 2048. And yeah, this was the one I worked on, the released most recently. Now, the general disclaimer, as always, I'm just talking from my own experience, so whatever I say might not actually be true or depends on many different factors that you have to weigh for yourself. So I take everything I say with a grain of salt. And for any links mentioned, there will be a QR code at the end to a paste bin with all the links of articles I mentioned. Not this one though, this is just a rickroll. Now, for I went introspective and went deep in myself to formalize what's the process it actually is for making games. So I want to present that. This is not guaranteed to yield good results. I'm not even saying it works well for myself. It's just what I'm doing. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and where it got myself. And actually, this might be more of a warning than an advice. So the secret process for making games is I just work on whatever I feel like. So this sounds very crude, right? But consider the following. Motivation is one of your most important resources. If you're not motivated to work on whatever you're doing, then nobody else will do it for you. And it will not get done. And also, this is why I started making games in the first place, because it's fun and I want to work on the fun stuff. So the advantages to this approach is I learn about a lot of different topics. Whenever I see an interesting new tool, I just dive into it and learn everything about it that interests me. And I get really good in certain aspects of making games because I repeatedly do them because the fun parts, and I get really good at making those parts. And I fearlessly start any project without worrying about any feasibility. So it doesn't matter how big the project or there's no worries about, oh, will I ever even finish that or something, because that's not a concern in the beginning. But there's no way this could ever go wrong, right? It's just fun and games all the way. Well, as you can think, this leads to many abandoned projects, because once all the fun things are done in a project, why keep working on it, right? Just start a new one and suddenly you have all the new fun tasks to work on. But also, this can get you stuck on working on a project, because you can always add new stuff, new things that are fun to the same project. So you can balloon the scope to insane sizes. So you just want to like add a new feature or just expand the scope. That's fun. But creating high quality assets for my programmer art is hard, and I don't know how to do that, and I don't really know how to do that. So I'm gonna do that later once everything else is done, right? You know. Instead, let me add a new fun thing. And some years ago, I saw this video from Extra Credits about the mantra of failing faster, and essentially it's about learning faster. Just instead of always trying to make one perfect thing, you work on many things and just try and gain experience, because that's much more valuable than thinking too much about it and just trying to get one perfect product or project. And the cheesy way to say it is the master has failed more times than the novice has even tried. And I was thinking, yeah, that's smart, yeah, and I want to do that. I'm kind of already doing that. I was failing a lot, but I was missing a step. It's not just to fail the things, but I actually need to like. I didn't have many finished stuff. I had a hard drive full of cool folders with cool projects in them, but hadn't released many of them. And so I didn't really have much to show for all the cool stuff I did. So I was missing the step of finishing the projects. And finishing is its own skill. It's something you have to learn and you can practice. There are many parts to it. You have to learn to get over your own ego. You have to learn to let go and cut down stuff. You have to confront uncertainty when you release something out for others to judge, and deal with anxiety when people are judging it. And you need to learn how to relax and uh, deal with that stuff and refocus on the next projects and many, many, many more things. And there's an amazing article by Derek Hugh called Finishing a Game, where he goes in very detail, lists all the advice and stuff, what you need to look out for when you finish a game, and like what are the common traps one can fall into. And I'm reading that, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's super smart. I will follow that advice. But what I later realized, I'm immune to good advice. So even though I had these amazing articles about everything you could know on how to finish something, I still was unable to actually do it. And it's just sometimes you gotta make the mistakes by yourself to learn the lesson, to really learn the lesson. Sometimes it doesn't help to just read about it and agree with it. And there's still something missing so that you really internalize the lessons. But what you don't really want is to make mistakes that take you years to make those so that you can learn from them. So one of those mistakes was that I thought, I made this thing, and I thought, I'm gonna sell this thing. I'm gonna polish this up, and I'm gonna sell this and finish it. And in this process, I realized deadlines have no power over me. Uh, if the game was always just a few months from release, and if anybody asked me, I would say, yeah, it's coming out at the end of the year, no problem. Then a few months later, they ask, oh yeah, beginning next year, yeah, then that will be done. And I genuinely believed that. It's not that I was lying to them, I was lying to myself. It was always the dangling carrot in front of me that like, made me keep going because I was almost there. So I kept going. And the thing about deadlines is they need something external because all those deadlines were just set by me by myself, and there was nothing stopping me from going, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna push the deadline a bit further because there's nobody there to judge me, and it was just a made-up deadline anyway. So any deadline that's not tied to anything external, like submitting to an event or just something that's outside of yourself, um, that's really important for deadlines to have any effect on me. Now, as I was saying, I was planning on this to be a short project, but then at one point it turned into a long project. As you saw, like Rotoforce took 7 years, which is a lot. I'll be thinking, why would anybody work so long on something? And, uh, and you said that you lose attention all the time. So how come that you suddenly work so many years on one project? And it's just one day sunk cost fallacy takes over. You've worked so long on this thing, you really need to finish this. It's like this comes the only important thing. You want to finish this thing, this project. It was like my big white whale that I was trying to catch, but just never could. And then it changed, and then it changes the philosophy to work. I work on this because I want this to be finished, but but not really. I work on this because I need this to be finished. There's no option for failure. Like this is important. Like I've already put so much work in it, and I just need to finish this project. And it's all you can think about. It's just the thing that keeps you up at night. You think about how I'm gonna do this. But somehow, although the only thing you think all this time is how can I get this finished, it never gets finished. And there's like another article by Derek Hugh with the death loops of game development. And I think this one describes it pretty well. It's just, oh, I've worked on this so long. Oh, now this needs to be an even bigger success. So I keep working on it and improving it. And this cycle just keeps repeating because now I've put another year in. It's now, oh, I've worked even more on this. And that's the thing. Like I knew this. Like I have read this article and I saw this, and it's still really hard if you're in the midst of it to really see it for what it is and break free of it. So one of the things that kept me in the cycle was perfectionism. And there's always this vague pressure to raise quality. There's like, this is not good enough. I need have some imaginary quality bar that I need to hit. And if you're being a perfectionist, it doesn't mean that things will turn out perfect. Instead, it just means you're never satisfied with what you're making. Especially if there's that gap between uh, what your expectation is and what your actual skill level is. You're always reaching for some elusive quality that you just can't reach. And if you're not aware of that, that's very deadly. And then these thoughts creep up, like, oh, this is not good enough. Oh, I can't release this like that. And I have standards to live up to. Like, what will people think if I release this game in this state? It's so bad. And it's, no, stop it. Don't think like that. Nobody will remember your first games. It's like, Rotoforce wasn't my first game. It was just my first notable game. And all the little games I released before that, and I've made like games in Flash, that like look awful. To play decent, but it's just not good games, and people just don't know about them. They ignore them. This like you're not someone famous, most likely. People have expectations of. You're just a nobody, and it doesn't care. Nobody cares if you put out a bad game. People just forget about them. So. And in this pursuit of perfectionism, you can like uh, work on stuff forever that's not important. I call this like pixel pushing. It's like when in a menu you have some menu items aligned and it's like not perfectly aligned. You want to change some offsets and padding somewhere, and then it's like looks nicer and more centered or whatever. And you can do this forever. Like you can spend hours, weeks on that, and in the end, all you have is some menu items and moved by a few pixels. And there's just no limit on how much time you can spend on those things. And what you think is important might not actually be important. So, and one thing, one way to, the best way I think to realize that is to just give your game to somebody and have them play it and then see what they are complaining about or talking about or what are they noticing or not. And then we'll see, oh, what's this menu items don't matter because I don't know, the jump doesn't work at all anyway, or they don't even come past get past the first level. So why are you spending time on this? Which essentially the lesson boils down to effort spent is not equal to value gained. Just because you spend a lot of time on something doesn't make it more valuable or improve its quality. And there's this amazing video, the game that time forgot. It's about some guy who spent 13 years on making a game, and he also goes into details why this happened, what went wrong, and very similar in those ways. But I can recommend it because there's one, I pick out one specific part because it really well illustrates my point. He complains that like in Mario, when he's like walking left or right, they just flip the sprite. But then the shading also flips. So like when he's facing right, it looks like the sun is coming from the right, but then suddenly it flips and it's like, oh, the sun moved to the left side. You know, that's inconsistent. That's not perfect. So he's like, no, I can't have that with my game. So in his game, he decided, oh, he's gonna shade every sprite twice, so that when he's facing left, the sun is actually also still coming from the same side. So I don't know if you can see it here on the projector very well, but that's kind of the point, because this is not important. Nobody really cares about this. But this meant for him having to shade every sprite, every frame of every animation of every sprite twice, which is just a lot of effort for arguably not much value gained. So whenever you do something, think really, is this really, am I getting good bang for my buck? And what you really need is not have a perfect thing, just you need to be good enough. That's really the most important thing. And you have to keep thinking about all the games you want to make, projects you want to make after this. Because if you never finish this one, you will never get to your second one. And that would be a shame. So you also let the drive for your next project motivate you to finish your current one. And you can kind of see them as stepping stones. So that once you've completed this project, it will help you like have learned so much so that you can start your next one even better. But don't restart the current one. Like finish this one and get to the next one. So consider your novelty budget. The novelty budget is like a term that says like you have only a specific budget for each project for doing new things. So you don't really want to learn a new tool and a new workflow and whatever all at the same time in the same project. So if you've never finished the game before, obviously this finishing is its own skill you need to learn. So make the game itself, make it smaller, make it shorter. So you don't have to like learn how to make a big game and how to finish it. And if you want to make a game that's larger than any you've made before, for example, lower the quality bar of all the assets you're making. So you don't also like have to make high quality stuff all the time or for longer than you've ever done before. And I'll have a little graph to illustrate my points. So you have like quality on one side and size on the other. You could also say fidelity. This is probably more accurate term. And however, like the total effort is like the area of this. So it's actually like the effort required is like the fidelity times the size. So when you want to make something that's high fidelity, you better make sure that it has a shorter size or it's a smaller game. And if you intend to make it like, oh, it's going to be huge, then the fidelity of every individual asset, like level or enemy or whatever, should be lower because, well, it's like if you have 100 levels, then the total effort is just simply the effort required for one level times 100. And what also happens is, like, if you're making a game for a long time, your skills will improve just naturally. And so if you always like work at the best rate or the best quality you can, it will slowly, like towards the end of the project, will slowly the fidelity of stuff will increase. And what you're doing by that is to like add just a lot of hidden effort for yourself when you later realize, oh, now I want to redo all the early stuff to get up to the same standard as what I've reached now with the new stuff. So suddenly you have to fill this gap, and that's dangerous. That gets you in the, oh, I need to redo lots of stuff territory. So important lesson is just to don't give your best all the time. Like pick a fidelity level and stick to it. Like it's okay to punch below your weight. Don't always like need to do your best work, because if it's a longer project, like it's harder to maintain your highest level of skill pretty much. And also one important thing is really learn to love cutting stuff. The fastest way to get something off your task list is to decide not to do it. Like if you make up your mind at first, oh, it's need to be 10 levels and 3 bosses or whatever, and then you just realize, oh, after 5 levels and the boss, oh, fuck, this is a lot already, and now I need to do all the other stuff. Well, you don't need to. You can just cut it. Nobody knows. It's just it's 5 levels and the boss, and bam, you're done. It's super satisfying actually. It's just cross the stuff off your task list. Just decide, yeah, it's not really, you don't really have to do it. Which brings me to this graph. The way of all projects is like you make early on you make lots of progress really quickly, because like you do all the easy stuff, and as time goes on you reach like 90% done, and progress crawls to a halt. It's even harder, gets ever harder to make any progress, because it's just the complexity of the project increases, and the things you need to consider just increase. And so as you're reaching like your product requirements, just simply what you set out to do, it becomes harder and harder to reach it. So at one point then you say just, well, fuck it, ship it, and just say, well, this doesn't need the 10 levels or whatever. And then suddenly, oh yeah, I already have all that I need, so I can finally ship it. And this is pretty much how all projects go. But then the important lesson is, the really important is, that you could have shipped it in half the time if you would have realized this much earlier. So this is just I don't know how you can do this. Like there's no steps for you to take to perfectly estimate a project. That's just not how things work. But it's important that the sooner you realize, oh, you can cut stuff, the better for you to stop wasting time working on things that will get cut eventually anyway.